Welcome back, or welcome if you're just joining us. It's the France 24 debate. We're talking as Iran's president is here for an official visit, the first of its kind since 1999, and it follows, of course, the lifting of sanctions. There's a lot on the agenda during these talks. With us to talk about Nigel Coulthard, chair of the Paris-based Iran Economic Circle and the author of Iran Hussein's Dilemma. Welcome back. Welcome back to Thierry Coville of the French Research Center for International and Strategic Studies. Franco-Iranian writer Fariba Hashtroudi, your new novel, The Man Who Snapped His Fingers.
Can I say that it just comes out just now in New York?
Coming out now in English in New York.
In English in New York.
Published in the United States. Okay.
Europa. Yeah.
All right.
That's for my publisher.
And from Tehran, Abbas Aslani, General Director at the Foreign Desk of the Tasnim news agency. Welcome back to you as well. Just before the break, Thierry Coville saying, yeah, we have to let the past, we can't always be stuck in the past. However, Abbas Aslani, you were mentioning some of the highs and lows of that past. Ayatollah Khomeini, who was in exile in this country. As you said, the French supported Iraq during the Iran-Iraq war. But there were lots of other incidents. In 1987, an employee at the Iranian embassy who was accused of being close to those who carried out terror attacks in Paris. There was, of course, the assassination of the Shah's last prime minister, Shapur Bakhtiar, in 1991. Are the days when Iran was ordering the assassination on French soil of political dissidents well and truly over?
You know that as I said previously, and you mentioned some points in the Iran and France relations, there have been ups and downs. But let's not forget that Iran and France also had some good cooperation by the car market that the French companies had in Iran, and also in the energy sector the countries had in the past. However, there were some points during the nuclear talks that some were accusing France of stopping the deal to reach the process or the deal, but it's been over, and let's be realistic. Iran's president has made his first European trip to two countries in European continent, which has been Italy and France. I think this shows the importance that he's making his first trips to these two countries, which have had good cooperation with the country, with Iran in the past. And I think there are good grants for both countries to expand the ties. There was one thing which was interesting for me, that Iranian president and foreign minister were referring to some phrases, and they were emphasizing on those were opening a new chapter, and referring to the phrase that a turning point in Iran's ties and relations with other countries. I think they were referring to countries like in Europe or in the West. There are, many grounds for Iranians.
And do you agree? Do you agree with Nigel Coulthard when he said that Iranians, well, they'd rather be doing business sometimes with the French than with the likes of China?
You know, now, there are many grounds. Yes, I think there are many grounds for both sides to cooperate. Like when you go to the car market in Iran that exists for French companies, you can also refer to the Airbus who can sell planes to Iran, or you can refer to the energy sector companies who can cooperate with Iran. I think Iranian president and the government is serious in expanding those ties. Iran has been saying that it's ready to interact and engage with many countries in the world. So it can cooperate with China as well. It can cooperate with Russia, with France, with Italy and other countries. I think that will relate to both countries, that how they act and react mutually, and things like that, as you mentioned, that what happened during the talks, like the state dinner or not. There are, I think, the margins. The reality or the rationality is something else, and that is that the common grounds that they have to cooperate on. And I think that the fields of cooperation between Iran and France is not just economic. They can cooperate on political fields as well. There are many issues going on in region like Syria, like Lebanon, and many other areas. I think with the cooperation of these two countries and other countries as well, they can, make in a field that can contribute to the peace and stability in the region, and they can expand ties, mutually. However, the expansion can exist between the ties of France with other countries in the region as well. There's no contradiction.
You're saying that there's a possibility where how this could help even with regional stability. Lots of reactions coming in on Twitter. Definitely, this is a right way. Iranian car manufacturers are addicted to Peugeot and Renault parts and vehicles. Okay. And this one, I don't think any country in the EU at the moment can be fussy where much needed business comes from. But that kind of works both ways, doesn't it, Nigel Coulthard? Because Hassan Rouhani, for him, the race is on to deliver now that he's got that nuclear deal. How fast can he get that investment money in there?
You're right. That is a challenge for him because vis-a-vis the hardliners in Iran, he needs to show that he can deliver. So the easiest way of demonstrating that are politically visible projects, such as the ones that have been announced today. They won't click in automatically. They'll take time. But I think these large contracts are very, very symbolic. Okay, what I would like
a lot of people, by the way, making a big fuss over the fact that he's buying Airbuses, he's not buying Boeings. Do you think that?
Well, the total requirement over the next 8 years is estimated by the Iranian Aviation Authority as being 400 aeroplanes. So there'll be plenty.
There'll be plenty for Boeing.
There'll be plenty for Boeing as well. Yes.
And you were saying that how fast, again, it brings back to the question. I mean, that's a measuring stick for just how much there is to do in Iran.
Yeah, but I think that coming back to the discussion, the points made, the political barriers. I don't think there are political barriers. Iran will judge the suppliers on the quality of the product, the technology, and the price. It's as simple as that. I don't think there's any special relation that will enable one country to charge 10% more than another. So France has to look at the areas where it has a technological or industrial edge, competitive edge. So Airbus is one, but Airbus is not only French. It's a European venture, plus the automotive. Luxury goods is an area. So that's one point. The other area that you're trying to highlight here is how quick can it go. There are certain hurdles that need to be jumped, and the most obvious one is the instrument that is used for transfer of funds, the SWIFT mechanism. I believe that's going to be reinstated in February. That is a key to opening up business because today it is physically very difficult to transfer funds in and out of Iran.
Yeah, yes, but time, it's the real problem of Rouhani. I have seen people that they were totally, contrary of in my feeling, very pessimistical, saying that he has not a single power, he cannot do anything because the left and extreme wing wouldn't let him to go with his reform. And I don't think that. I really do not think that. I think he's moving with a very clever way. But time, in business, it's a problem because the population are really fed up of the economic problem, but also human rights problem. We shouldn't forget that in Iran, a part of the population lives like multimillionaires and in Eshel international standards, and half of the population are still under according to some economists in Iran, under the poverty line. Then you see there is all this kind of social problem that it and Rouhani, in my opinion, he's aware of this, because every time that there is people arrest, he reacts. He doesn't, but still he do not do anything to just make a state of law in Iran. Then there is a real fight. And
will the opening up with the West, will more trade deals with France change any of that, for instance?
I do hope. I think with the opening in any country, business, when business comes in, the changes comes as well. But it won't be, again, it won't be in 1 minute. As the gentleman said, the problem of time is a real problem. And sometimes people get really, really pessimistical about when, how, and, on paper, not a single law had been changed, including with business. I'm not aware about the law in business, but I know, for instance, to set up an NGO in Iran is what I just searched for that. It's a hell of a lot of problem. Neither you pay a lot of money, corruption. With this, you can do everything in Iran, everything, let's say a lot. But those are real issues that Rouhani has to look after.
Corruption, red tape, the problems of social inequality, and of course the power struggle between moderates and hardliners. And again, we're talking about deadlines here. There are elections coming up at the end of next month. The Guardian Council, which could name the next supreme leader. This week, the reformist grandson of Ayatollah Khomeini was barred from running. Hassan Khomeini's son on Instagram saying the reason for the disqualification is clear to all. An appeal is expected. There have been a lot of candidates who've been barred from running. Appeals have been launched last week. There was in Parliament the president himself saying that one party, if one party is allowed to run and another one is not, then we don't need an election. To which, and this is interesting, Iran's supreme leader, he says he seems to approve the tough vetting process for next month's election to both Parliament and the Assembly of Experts. He insists that, quote, nowhere in the world would those who do not approve the very principle of a regime be allowed to enter the decision-making centers of that country. And this is always one of the big questions, Thierry Coville. When it comes to reforms, when it comes to all of this, which side is the supreme leader on? Is he more with the reformers or is he more with the hardliners?
No, yeah, obviously in terms of political camp, he's more among the hardliners. I mean, everyone knows that. But what is interesting is, the simplistic view of Iran is, okay, the supreme leader is deciding everything and Rouhani is number two, he cannot do anything. First, you have always a kind of struggle since revolution, between the supreme leader and the president. So you have what the constitution says. Look at Ahmadinejad. Ahmadinejad, I don't say that what he did was well, but he was really outstripping his role as a president. He started to be a threat, I think, for the supreme leader. That's why he was, evicted. So I think, and you see the way Rouhani acts is very interesting. I think he knows that he has been elected by, let's say, a large majority of the population. The population has put a lot of hope in him. And they start to trust him. And he has to maintain this trust. That's very important for him.
So how are those elections going to go next month?
So what is interesting, there is a struggle. Nobody knows what will be the doubt. But what I see is a very different figure than you were talking about Mohammad Khatami. It's very different in the way that at least he says things.
Yes.
And say he doesn't agree. The vetting of candidates, of moderate candidates, and the fact that 1% only of reformist candidates were approved. He said things which were, in fact, in a way, he was contradicting what the Supreme Leader says. He said, how can we live in a country where the Jewish minority has a representative in the parliament? And he said, a movement of 10 million people, he didn't want to say, the reformist movement, but he said, cannot have a representative in the parliament. When a politician says that in a country, obviously, I think we cannot say, he's just obeying. He wants to defend his point of view. We'll see. These hardliners are powerful in Iran. It's very easy in France to say, okay, why doesn't they are powerful? There have been an Islamic revolution 35 years ago. you know, you have a moderate, I think the moderate camps, there is a struggle, there is a fight. I think, you know, and I think he is the right man in the right place because he's both from the inside of the system. So in a way, he has the confidence of the supreme leader, but he knows that the Iranian population is counting on him. So I think he wants to fight. We'll see. We'll see.
There. That's true. That's true. And you can see that in Iran. When you live there, you can really feel it. And especially with young people that even though that they said we are against the Islamic Republic, but they say at least this man talks. But we need now acts, which is not very easy, as he said, Thierry Coville. Just one point, I focus on this. All depends who will have the forces, les forces armées, the armed forces, let's say, la gendarmerie, the army, the Revolutionary Guard, and that is something very opaque in Iran. You never know who are, but still in that field as well, everybody has his own connections and his own experts, including Rouhani. I just say one thing. It was happened the first time that Rouhani had arrested the people that they had attacked the
Saudi embassy.
So it's really, for me, it's a clue. It's quite important.
Abbas Aslani, when you hear Hassan Rouhani, the president, say, as he did last week, that Parliament is called a house of the people, not of a particular faction, a house of the people. Do you agree with him that the hardliners are trying to hijack next month's election?
During the process of the qualification for the members of the Parliament of the Assembly of Experts, many candidates have been objecting, and they may be appealing for the qualification process, and that is the concern that the president shared, that let's have different factions to compete. That's the electoral issue, that both sides are competing. And some of the candidates who were for the reformists or from other factions as well have been disqualified or not being qualified. I think these issues will continue in future, and many of them may appeal for this process. And in the end, I think because there are many reformist candidates who are not known to be reformists or with the brand, in these elections, there have been many other candidates who have been working maybe with the reformists or different factions, but they are not the known ones. I think that is the strategy that the reformists have been using. But I think totally the president and the different factions, they may have some differences on issues like the elections or maybe something like on foreign policy. But the experience shows that in this past 2 years, they have been able to resolve many issues. And I think we hope that this is the issue which can be resolved in the coming weeks or days, and we can have a election that the many sides can compete in the election. And that is not that simple that to say that the leader decides on the process issue or the disqualification or qualification process. There's a guardian council. However, there have been some criticism inside the country. But I think the process will go in a way that many sides, we hope that could be able to, have the competition in the elections.
Oh, you're saying it'll be more pluralistic than it seems. Nigel Coulthard, let me ask you again, and this brings us back to investor confidence in the country. It's all still very volatile, is it not? Plus, you have over the past decade, especially under Ahmadinejad, the Revolutionary Guards who got more and more into business ventures and this kind of thing. The system in Iran is skewed towards these hardliners.
It has been skewed under Ahmadinejad. But I think we need to understand that the regime in Iran is not monolithic at all. And in a certain way, every election, it's a game of musical chairs. And each faction wants to benefit from the system. That has happened every 4 years in the last 30 years, and at least in the last 25 years. But I think there is a realization today that Iran cannot return to the Ahmadinejad days. The population is very young, and it has actually tasted both consumer goods and a degree of freedom under Khatami. Khatami was a little bit of a loose cannon, and he couldn't deliver. He couldn't confront this non-monolithic, multi-faction thing, which is the Iranian establishment, the Iranian regime. Rouhani, on the contrary, he was head of the Iranian Security Council. He is a guy within the regime, and I think there is a conscious effort to...
So he'll play it cautious. However, there is this feeling, and I read this everywhere when I look at Iran, that there are a lot of people in Tehran who want to just keep it all in a bottle and that don't want these reforms to go too far.
That is true. I'm not sure what question you're asking. Concerning business, I think that is not too dependent on reforms. I believe that Rouhani is going to have to deliver. If not, there could be an explosion. In that fact, some analysts believe that the reason that Iran came to the negotiating table was that in 2012 and 2013, there was a devaluation of 80%. There was rampant inflation, more than 50% a year, and there was a risk of a social explosion. Not everyone agrees with that analysis. I certainly think that it has a certain truth. Therefore, I think that the regime fundamentally believes it has to deliver and it has to modify.
All right, we're going to keep, of course, watching this. Nigel Coulthard, I want to thank you. I want to thank as well Thierry Coville. I want to thank Fariba Haj-Trudi, and I want to thank Abbas Aslani for being with us from Tehran. Stay with us. Our Media Watch segment is next. And we say hello to James Creedon.
Hi, François. So just a quick look at how this has been playing out on social media online. I'm not sure if we have a connection that is working, in fact, but in any case, if you type in #Rouhani, you can see images such as this one. That is probably a reference to what was happening in Italy during Rouhani's visit there, where statues were covered up at the Capitoline
I gotta say,
Museum.
It's a great hot potato because everybody in Italy is passing the buck over who, in fact, ordered those statues to be covered up.
That's right, and indeed, Iran is saying that it did not request the cover-up, that it was a sort of, what would you say, a gesture of diplomatic friendship that was extended.
The culture minister said he didn't do it.
Exactly. So who did it? Who done it, so to speak? But that did get, if you type Rouhani into Twitter, seems to be the issue that is generating most comment at the moment. And people making a little bit of fun of the issue. Others, I suppose, taking it a little bit more seriously and saying, in terms of values and respect, this should not have been done. But the images, in any case, are pretty funny. Now, the front page of Libération today is a little bit cautious, saying go slowly with Le Moula. And what they're pointing out is, in terms of human rights infringements, etc., it's still quite a concern. And on social media as well, that is probably the other major theme that is emerging in terms of what keywords such as Rouhani or Iran, Paris bring up, and some going so far as to call him an assassin, which is pretty extreme, but that is the sentiment of some on social media. So a lot of angry language and people saying that, well, really, this welcome needs to be moderated by, I suppose, being conscious of those issues. Don't trade France values for business. #hold Rouhani accountable, etc. So I suppose they're the two themes that we're seeing, François, on social media, the issue of values and the issue of human rights infringements. So two concerns that are being expressed on Twitter about this visit.
All right, many thanks for that, James Creedon. I want to thank our panel once again. Thank you for joining us here in the France 24 debate.